Good day, everyone. I am Lou Aliotta, and I am here interviewing Mr. Brian Shank, who is Erie County Councilman at the present time for the 5th District in Erie County, and he is a candidate for the Erie County Sheriff's position. Good afternoon. Mr. Shank, tell me a little bit about yourself, volunteer efforts for Erie County, just to introduce yourself.
Well, thanks, Lou. I appreciate that. Well, you know, it's a long story. Unfortunately, we have a very short time frame with our show, so we'll get the condensed version. I graduated from Harbor Creek Class 81. I joined the United States Army in 1983. There, I decided where I wanted to go when I grew up. I was in the California Army National Guard. I was a military police officer. When I was in the National Guard, I decided I really enjoyed what I did. So I put myself through basically like a Mercyhurst program. I became a city police officer, and then I really enjoyed what I did. But then we decided to move back to Pennsylvania. My credentials didn't transfer, so unfortunately we had to go back to school. I was very fortunate to get hired with the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. I did 20 years. I retired. While I was there, I was on the fire team. We'd make sure if there was a fire inside the jail, we could put them out. And then we were on the CERT team, which is equivalent to SWAT. And once I actually retired, I found myself wanting to do more for my community. I joined a local volunteer fire department where I'm a fire police officer, and I really enjoyed that. You know, I put together several benefits, Back the Blue rallies. We've done those 2 years in a row. And, you know, and I really felt the need to just do a little bit more. I'm coming out of retirement to run for the sheriff's position because I think we need a new perspective, and that brings us pretty much where we are today.
Yeah, thank you. You certainly do contribute to our community. Very simply distinct. Why do you want to become Erie County Sheriff, and what do you bring to the table?
Wow. That's a complicated question, so we're going to do this as quick as we can. You know, I want to be the Erie County Sheriff because I've reached out to the deputies and I found some deficiencies, things that needed improvement. And the only way I can do that is to be the sheriff. With my qualifications, my schooling, and just life experience really prepared me for this position. The deficiencies that I found are our sheriff deputies were going to work without fire extinguishers in their vehicles. They didn't have first aid kits in their vehicles. So I took it upon myself and a bunch of other concerned citizens. We purchased locally 25 fire extinguishers and 25 first aid kits. So that just kind of puts it in motion about what I want to do in the Sheriff's Department. And these are things I accomplished. I'm not even the sheriff yet. So once I'm actually the sheriff, there's a lot of more things I can do.
Yeah, I commend you for those efforts, community efforts. What are some of your past challenges that you faced, and how did you address them, deal with them with your values and principles?
Right, and those principles were kind of given to me by my mom and dad. My dad was a retired GE guy. He did 39 years. He got up, he went to work every day, he provided for his family. You know, and that's what I did when I was at the Department of Corrections. You know, I got up, went to work, you know, first thing in the morning, and we basically just went to work, we did our time, and now when you have the privileges of retiring, you kind of find yourself, at the age of 51, I still wasn't ready to retire. So here I am as a county councilman and now running for sheriff, which, you know, we feel very confident about.
You touched on it a little bit. The values and principles that you were taught by your parents, share with the public what those values and principles would be.
Yeah.
The foundation.
That's a great question. Yeah, this foundation of how I am and who I am today is pretty simple. You know, you give back to your community, you work hard, you provide for your family, you know, become involved with your community locally, on the state level and a national level. You know, these are all important things that we all have to do as proud Americans, to do those things and make sure that our communities are put together. And there's a little silly saying I've always used: you take care of your community will take care of you.
Take care of you.
Yes.
Yes, I've heard you state that several times in the past. several years. What would you consider your major issue that you would have to address in the department at the present time, and how would you address it for the short term, say 2 to 3 years, and then longer term thereafter, 4 to 5 years?
Yeah, another great question. You know, a lot of the deputies have come to me and said, hey, you know, Councilman Shank, we got some issues. These are things that we need to fix now. Of course, the fire extinguishers, first aid kits. The other things that we've noticed that they don't have are body cameras. You know, these men and women go out there, they serve warrants every day. They're taking people to jail that probably don't want to go to jail. And that body cam could potentially save the taxpayers millions in litigation if use of force. You know, pepper spray, taser, deadly force. Anytime force is used today in law enforcement, there's a lawsuit going to happen. So with the investment from the county, from the state and federal government, we're going to equip our men and women in uniform with body cameras. And that's basically a short-term and a long-term goal.
Okay, thank you, thank you. You mentioned something in your introduction. You have a really dynamic career, and I congratulate you on that. How would you determine which priorities are most important in an emergency situation, which there have been several over the past 5-6 years?
Yeah, number one priority is officer safety, deputy safety in this case. We're going to make sure our men and women in uniform do their job proficiently, have the proper training, and do it legally, and that way they're safe, and they're safe return home to their families, and they make sure that they're working professionally in the community.
Yeah, thank you. The community. What is your position and how to engage with the community in collaboration with the sheriff's office?
Right off the top of my head, you know, the sheriff's department today, I think, has a public relations issue. Not that it's a bad thing, it's not a good thing either. A lot of people ask me, and I have to explain to them what the sheriff's department does. Social media is a powerful, powerful tool that doesn't cost the taxpayers a lot of money. I've been kind of watching the sheriff's department social media, and there's times where there's 6 months lapse of no social media engagement. And the people today, they all use all the different types of platforms. The one I particularly were watching was their Facebook, and they haven't really posted anything. We need to know who the deputies are and what they do. And I think that's where there's a disconnect with the taxpayers right now. They see these tax dollars being spent, and we need to show them these are the people spending the dollars, where we're spending it, and how we're spending it.
Does the present organizational chart have an individual that is assigned to public relations or community involvement, engagement?
Right. With not being intimately with the internal workings of the sheriff's department, not kind of being the outsider looking in, there's a lot of things that I have to learn, and that's something we're going to look at. And if we don't have a public relations officer, we will figure out who can do it. If I have to do it, that's fine. When I was in the Army, I was an Army recruiter. The Sheriff's Department has a recruitment and retention problem. And I think with the recruiting skills I have and working with the public as a county councilman, that has given me the stepping stone to become that PR guy, if that's what I have to do.
Yeah, you just mentioned relative to your position as a sheriff for Erie County. How can you describe your leadership style for that position?
Yeah, that's a great question, you know, and we could be here for a couple hours figuring that one out. But basically, you know, you lead by example. You come to work, you have a clean uniform, you have a good haircut, you're shaved, you know, and be professional. And that's what people look when they come into the courthouse and they see the deputies. You know, I'm really proud of who I bump into. They're basically all clean shaven, their uniforms are always pressed. The one thing I did notice they don't have on the uniform is an American flag. And I made sure to give the deputies a little American flag for American pride.
Yeah, God bless you. I have entered the courthouse many times, and I must say, every time I walk in or walk out, I always say thank you for your service. And you have a terrific group there. In your career, you have led teams. Give me an example of an experience that you've had where you led a team with your leadership styles.
You know, I'm very proud to be an Army veteran. You know, when you're in the Army, you lead by example. As a sergeant, you're responsible for a squad of men and women. You make sure they're fed. You make sure they're taken care of. And one thing I always learned in the Army is you feed your people first. You know, you take care of the troops. The boots on the ground, the men and women are your frontline attack, your frontline defense. They're the ones that we need taken care of, and you lead by example. And, you know, and I hate to repeat it, but it's a term that is so valid and so important.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. Overall, if you observe the organization, the Erie County Sheriff's Office, and you have an opportunity to improve that, whether it's a policy, a process, how would you engage the officers and your staff?
It's an open door. Open door policy is something that, you know, we hear a lot of. It's really an important tool that the people that you supervise have access to the people in charge. And people are not a hammer in a toolbox. They're all assets. They all have experience. They've all been places. They've all done things. So to come in there as a sheriff and say, I know everything, I can't. I'm going to rely on the men and women that work there to help me bring this thing up to speed and make an Erie County sheriff that they could be proud of.
Right. And working as a team.
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. I'm going to conclude and just open it up for you to share with the audience, the voters, Erie County population, just an open door for you to describe what you can see in the future.
Yeah. In conclusion, you know, this is going to be an experience. I've been a military veteran, a city police officer, a county councilman, but have I been a sheriff? No. But, you know, that's why I'm coming out of retirement, to really grasp this thing. You know, I'm not going to come in the sheriff's department, flip it upside down, tear it apart, and rebuild it. We're going to come in there, see what's working well, what's not working well, and we're just going to take a bottle of wax, and we're going to shine it up, and we're going to have an Erie County Sheriff's Department that we can be proud of, that the taxpayers actually know what they do. I know we talked about it. That's one of the common threads that I've seen and talked to people, is they really don't know what the Sheriff's Department does. And that's a shame, because there's a 50 people down there that go to work, they put that uniform on, and they're proud, they put that badge on, and they're proud to go to work. And that's something that I want to do also. And we're going to give them the tools, we're going to update their equipment, we're going to update their training. You know, we've been talking on my radio show about cultural sensitivity, you know, and that's a big thing. If I have to bring experts in to do that, we're going to do that. So, you know, all I'm asking you folks is to get out and vote November 2nd. You know, politicians love to say this is an important race. This is an important race, and I appreciate the time. I appreciate your support. Get out and vote November 2nd, and we're going to have an Erie County Sheriff's Department we'll be proud of.
Good. Thank you very much, and the very best.
Appreciate
to you.
it.
Right. Have a good day.